Welcome to my astrology forecast for May. I'm also going to be doing horoscopes for each sign, and just keep in mind as I'm going through the horoscopes, when I talk about each sign, it's really for anyone who has that sign prominently in their chart. So it's not just like if I talk about Aries horoscopes, it's not just for Aries sun, it's also for Aries moon, Aries rising. So if you have like a prominent Aries, you're probably going to relate to the horoscope. And then of course that just applies to every single sign. Okay, before I get into it, I do want to kind of introduce myself. I feel like I haven't really done that on my channel. My name is Sydney. I'm a professional astrologer. I've been studying astrology for over 15 years, literally since I was 8 years old. So I'm very passionate about astrology. And I do have my website in the description if you would like to book a reading with me. I also have an email list going. So if you sign up for that, you will receive exclusive promotions, discounts, astrological insights. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. I greatly appreciate all of the support. Okay, let's get into it. I'm very excited for the month of May. It's a really big month. What I'm gonna do is go over important dates, and then for the second half of the video, I'll go over horoscopes, and I will make sure I have the timestamps in the description. Okay, so the first thing let's kind of go in chronological order here. So May 1st, Venus is going to re-enter Aries. So as you know, Venus was originally in Aries, then it retrograded into Pisces in March, and now it is re-entering Aries finally. So I'm excited for Venus and Aries. I think everybody's gonna kind of have like a surge of motivation, ambition. Venus also has a lot to do with money, material goods. So that kind of ambitious, Aries is a go-getter. This can be very financially motivating for a lot of people. And I will talk more the second half Aries and like job opportunities and stuff. But for some of you, this could bring new sources of income, new job opportunities, a new career, or some type of advancement like a promotion. So I think Venus and Aries will be good. I will say it can also offer new beginnings on a romantic level. So that's another exciting thing to look out for. Something very, very important happening on May 5th. Pluto is going to enter its retrograde period. So keep in mind, Pluto is in Aquarius. Right now it's at 3 degrees, so it's still very early on in its entire lengthy transit, but it will be entering its retrograde phase come May 5th. I didn't even have this on my radar, so I feel like it's coming so soon. I thought it was gonna be retrograding later in the year, but I guess we are already like halfway through the year, which is really scary. So May 5th, Pluto retrograde, mark it on your calendar. This is of course a really prominent transit. It does happen yearly, so there's no need to freak out or anything. But the fixed signs are really going to feel this retrograde period. And of course, anyone with prominent Aquarius placements in general, again, I will get more into this later. Now, it's really important to note for the entire month, for the most part of May, Jupiter, which is currently in Gemini, is going to be forming a T-square with the nodes. So Jupiter in the sky in Gemini is going to be forming a T-square to both Pisces North Node and Virgo South Node. This can create a lot of indecision amongst everybody. It can also create kind of a general feeling of insecurity and uncertainty. So if you've been feeling uncertain about your general direction in life, your purpose, what you're here to do, what you're supposed to be doing versus like what you actually are doing. Also, if you've been kind of trapped in a place of, or not trapped, but if you are kind of currently struggling with feelings of guilt or regret, this T-square can really amplify it. And these themes can kind of persist throughout the entire trajectory of South Node being in Virgo and North Node being in Pisces, but it can intensify this month because again, we're getting that T-square with Jupiter. Not to mention the mutable signs like Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo, they have a lot to do with philosophy and higher ideals. So they're not the most material signs, but they do have more to do with religion, spiritual beliefs, ideologies. So these are all things that you can be tossing back and forth this month as well. Like thinking more deeply about your faith, about what it is you believe in, and also how you cope with the world around you, how you deal with some of the thoughts and thinking patterns that you have. So this month can be kind of intense on like a mental and emotional level because of, people might be ruminating basically. So that's really important to keep in mind. Another really important thing that's gonna happen all this month, Saturn is going to be conjunct Pisces North Node. Now keep in mind, Saturn is a little bit past the degree already, so it's not an exact conjunction, but it's still hanging out very close to Pisces North Node. So this is just kind of a general feeling of like, goodbye, farewell, so long. This is the last month Saturn's going to be in Pisces until it eventually retrogrades later on in the year. But this is kind of like a sayonara moment where going back to that T-square, you might be kind of ruminating in the past. You might be struggling with feelings of regret or guilt, and in some extreme cases, feelings of shame. There's kind of this moment where you have to come to terms with your past in order to move on and really embrace Saturn and Aries. This is another aspect, this Saturn conjunct Pisces North Node, where your faith is going to come into question. So you're going to be kind of put in a position where you have to harness your sense of faith in order to believe that everything is going to work out, which, by the way, we are a little speck in a larger cosmic thing happening, and I know certain things on Earth can feel really scary, but Earth will prevail. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, we are just a species, and life is so much bigger than us. The galaxy is so much bigger than us. So whatever happens to us, it's okay, because everything that was here before us, the planets, the stars, it's just going to keep doing what it's doing. You get what I'm saying? So don't really worry too much, but this Saturn North Node conjunct period, and of course, Saturn will be opposed Virgo South Node, which is where some of that regret, remorse, and shame can come into play. You're basically just going to be asked to have faith. Believe in the bigger picture. Don't focus too much on little details right now. Like, just make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're looking at the bigger picture, right? Try to abolish yourself of feelings of guilt and shame. Nobody's perfect. Perfection is very boring. We don't learn when things are perfect. So this month can feel very much like a learning period for a lot of different people. Now on May 10th, Mercury is going to enter Taurus. I'm kind of excited for Mercury in Taurus. I think it's going to allow for more people to, I don't know if relax is the right word, but there is a soothing and pleasing nature to Mercury in Taurus. It can also help people get a little more one-track minded, which in some cases is really good. Like, a lot of people are just very scatterbrained, and this Mercury in Taurus, I think, can kind of help people get a little bit more logical, a little bit more grounded, and help them kind of hone in on their thoughts, their feelings, their values. There's just kind of a sense of like, I don't have time for a million things at once. Taurus Mercury is not good at multitasking. It's just not. So at least this gives you a chance to kind of breathe and focus on one thing at a time, which is really good when you have set goals in mind and you're trying to achieve them and reach them. I think this can kind of give a lot of people a nice break to just focus in on what they really need to focus on. And in terms of communication and socialization, Mercury in Taurus is it's a really nice assistance for setting boundaries, for getting clear in what you want. You know, there's not much fogginess here. It's very practical, it's very pragmatic, it's very realistic. So if you are in a position where you're having to come up with a plan or you're kind of brainstorming, I think this Taurus Mercury can give you that energy that you need to get clear in your desires and get clear in what you want. Not to mention, Mercury in Taurus is very feel good, it's very pleasure oriented. You might be feeling a lot more in tune with your creative spirit, which is also great, especially for people who are creatives, or, you know, maybe you do something creative for work. This can kind of give you a boost in creative inspiration and energy. So I love this. And this might be a good month too for like media, movies, you know, TV, music, whatever the case may be. It's a time of nice creative inspiration coupled with that grounding feeling where you can kind of set you can push your creations into material reality. So this is a good month for manifestation as well. Now on May 20th, Sun is going to enter Gemini. Yay, happy birthday to all the Gemini babies out there. This kind of coincides with what I was talking about with Mercury and Taurus too, where it's like, there's just going to be an uptick in creative energy for the month of May. It's going to be a good month for movies, you know, TV, music, media in general. It's going to be an interesting month, an exciting month. And when Sun moves into Gemini, there's a lot to talk about. It usually kind of pulls out some type of exciting global event, or there's just the news cycle can, you know, be kind of crazy, be a little dramatic. Everything feels amped up. So Gemini sun period will be interesting in that regard. This time can also lead to increased irritability. It reminds me kind of like road rage, and you're like, go, 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 you're honking on the horn and everyone else is like being annoying and you're just kind of fed up. So there is that irritability that comes with Sun and Gemini. You might also just, especially because the weather is changing, and you know, there just might be some sensitivity and feelings of overwhelmness, if that word is a real word, when it comes to just the change in atmosphere and things like that, especially because some of this will coincide briefly with Taurus Mercury, which can get overstimulated very easily. But there's also an increased desire here to socialize and connect with yourself, and connect with things that make you feel good, connecting with your creative spirit, connecting with your education, your studies, things that inspire you and enlighten you, connecting with friends you haven't seen in a while. So this is also a really good time to kind of, I guess, get back down to what makes you happy in sort of a simplified way. You know, connecting with the smaller things. Focusing on the bigger picture, but connecting with the more smaller things in your life that make you happy. That's very appropriate for Sun and Gemini. Now, on May 24th, this is the big transit, okay? Saturn is finally going to enter Aries. Saturn has not been in Aries for a very long time. It takes Saturn like 3 years or so to move through one sign. So it's been a little bit, it's been like 30 years or so. But Saturn moving into Aries is going to be really powerful. Keep in mind, it will eventually retrograde back into Pisces towards the second half of the year. So this is just kind of the first entrance into, you know, getting acclimated to that Saturn Aries energy. I'm very excited for this period. It's going to bring a lot of new beginnings. So you got to buckle up and get ready. Saturn in Pisces it's a very difficult sign for Saturn to be in, because it has so much to do with faith and spirituality. It has a lot to do with sacrifice, self-improvement, self-discipline. There's a murkiness, there's a fogginess, there's feelings of temptation and addiction. Saturn in Pisces is like you're down on your last dollar and you got to make it work. Like, it's kind of that vibe. Saturn moving into Aries is new opportunities. It allows for more abundance, but I will say there's still hard work to be done. Not to mention, Aries is a very reckless and impulsive sign. Okay, so this can kind of amplify people's ambition and motivation on one hand, which is great, but on the other hand, it can lead to a lot of friction and a lot of aggression. Aries is a very primitive sign. It's the first sign. Think of it kind of as like the caveman of the zodiac. You can also compare it to like a newborn as well. You know what I mean? It's crying and it's like me, 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 me all the way home. It needs its basic needs met. It's very focused on the more simplistic sides of life, like getting your needs met, surviving. So Saturn in Aries can kind of create a shadow over the globe that really prioritizes the need to preserve the right to life. This can lead to, for some countries, a lot of protesting. It could lead to, in some very extreme cases, like, I don't want to use the W word, but in very extreme cases, it could lead to a lot of fighting. And keep in mind, we already see these things throughout, you know, the current life we're all living right now. So it's not unfathomable, but there can be a little bit more tension across the globe, and some uprisings and just some fighting. And, you know, Aries is ruled by Mars, which is the planet of war. So do with that what you will, but also keep in mind we already have wars going on in the world. And we will and have forever. So it's not unfathomable to think about, but just keep in mind, Saturn moving into Aries, it's going to create a lot of tension. It's going to lead to a lot of aggression, even in just people. You know, it's not just like a global thing, but on a personal level, especially depending on where you have cardinal signs in your chart, which we will get more into for the second half of the video. But Saturn in Aries too, there is again, you know, an increase in motivation and ambition. People are more willing to take chances, which is a great thing about Saturn in Aries. People are more willing to take leaps of faith. Think of Saturn in Pisces as cultivating faith. Saturn in Aries is taking that leap of faith. However, in taking a leap of faith, you do need risk assessment, and you also need to moderate and manage your impulsivities. You need patience with Saturn in Aries. And look, if you have Saturn in Aries natally, you're going to be entering your Saturn return. So this is especially important for you people, the Saturn in Aries babies natally, to Be mindful, be patient, don't rush, don't push, don't shove. Always wear like protective gear. Like if you're in a car, you wear your seatbelt. You want to minimize risk at all costs. You want to be smart. You don't want to get like a Darwin Award. You know what I'm saying? Again, there's a primitive nature to Saturn and Aries. It's kind of like survival of the fittest. That's the other thing. Saturn and Aries can bring up some conversations about health. I talked about this in my video about like Neptune and Aries and what that can bring. And there is something to be said about health, global health, diseases, illnesses, things that we thought maybe were eradicated but could potentially come back because of that primitive nature, because of that theme of survival, and because of that theme of like impulsivity and naivety that Aries can sometimes have. There is this feeling of like, wait, didn't we already learn this lesson? Wait, didn't we already kind of do this and solve this problem? So some health related things can pop up globally and in certain parts of the world, especially parts of the world where, you know, I live in America. Enough said, right? There's a lot of people who don't believe in science. There's a lot of people like here. There's a lot of people who don't believe in scientists and doctors who've been studying for decades and bringing cures and allowing for medical advancement. It's very insulting, frankly, to disrespect and disregard the studies and the gifts that, you know, modern medicine, doctors and scientists and people have brought us, you know. So I do kind of worry about Saturn and Aries from that perspective as well. But all in all, it's a time to really exercise your motivation and ambition and make sure you're getting your needs met. So there's pros and cons to the Saturn Aries period. Now on May 25th, the very next day, Mercury is going to enter Gemini. So that Mercury Taurus transit is very brief. So Mercury is going to enter Gemini May 25th. This is another thing that's going to kind of contribute to feelings of impatience, feelings of like, I gotta go. It's just Gemini is a very impatient, impulsive, speedy sign. It's Mercury ruled, so it's very fast paced. It's also very cyclical. So this can bring things back from the past. This can bring back old opportunities. It can also bring new opportunities. There's kind of like a sort of meeting between, you know, the past and the future. So this is a really good time when Mercury enters Gemini to kind of gain some clarity and figure out what you want to do. Kind of similar, or not similar, but think of it kind of like piggybacking off of that Mercury Taurus energy. Mercury in Gemini is also a really good time to like return to education or apply for school or get something settled with your educational endeavor if you are someone who's in school or applying for school, whatever the case may be. Mercury Gemini is also pretty notorious for creating some conflict with technology, cars, automobiles, travel. It's not a Mercury retrograde, but Mercury Gemini, you know, Gemini is kind of wonky. It does rule over technology, as does Mercury. So there is like a double, you know, it's enhanced basically. The Mercury Gemini period is very much enhanced when it comes to technology and travel, and communication. So just be mindful, back up your files, you know, make sure you have an oil change. Nothing to be concerned about, just make sure you're taking proper precautions with your technology. Okay, so those are the really big transits and astrological events happening this month. Now we are going to get into actual horoscopes for each sign in order, and I will have timestamps in the description. Okay, so now for this portion of the video, we are going to be doing the horoscopes for each sign. As I stated earlier, when I go through each sign, keep in mind this can apply to people even if you don't, like if I'm doing I'm going to do Aries first. If you don't have an Aries sun, but you have an Aries moon, or you have an Aries rising or Aries Mars, you can still relate to this information. So I don't want you to think that you just have to have an Aries sun to relate or pay attention to the Aries horoscope. Anyone with a prominent Aries, anyone with a prominent Taurus, when I do Taurus, you know what I mean? You're just looking for that personal connection, okay? All right, let's get into it. So for the Aries babies out there, the Aries influenced babies, that's what I say, influenced. This is going to be a really big month for you. It's going to initiate a lot of changes and specifically new beginnings. Aries is all about new beginnings, and you're going to have Venus moving into Aries this month, and of course Saturn moving into Aries this month, and Neptune is already in Aries. So Aries, you are like, you're in the throne. You're on the throne right now. Like there's a lot of new changes and new beginnings happening for you. When Venus moves into Aries, for some of you, especially if you have Aries Venus natally, or like an Aries 7th house, an Aries 5th house. This can bring new love. It can bring a new relationship. Now, if you're already in a relationship, no need to worry. This can note development or advancement in your relationship, like a proposal period. You know what I mean? In some cases, especially for people that have like an Aries 5th, if you've been trying to get pregnant, this can lead to, you know, pregnancy, conception. So a new development in your pre-existing relationship is possible here. Now, if you are in a relationship and it's not going good, the aggressive, more conflict nature of Aries can kind of come out. So you want to be mindful if you do have prominent Aries and your relationship is like kind of, it's on the down. This might give you that push you need to end it and go embrace new, you know, the new beginnings that are waiting for you on the other side. So, you know, for some of you, if things are already going good, it could lead to more advancement, more development, more intimacy. It could also lead to, for some of you, like new goals in your relationship, like you and your partner starting a business. Things like that can also occur, especially with Saturn moving into Aries, which Saturn does have a lot to do with responsibility and work. So this, you know, connection between Saturn Aries and Saturn Venus, even though they're not going to be conjunct, they're still in the same sign. So it can definitely bring some new work opportunities and a new connection with your partner in a work related sense. Now, Saturn moving into Aries for the Aries babies out there, this can, like I said just a second ago, it can bring new work opportunities, a new job, a new source of income. So I'm very excited for you guys in that regard. Increased ambition, increased power, increased autonomy. Now, I will say, Saturn is still, you know, there is still hard work to be done. It's not easy breezy, but it can be very rewarding. And I will say for Aries people out there, especially if you have Aries Saturn, you'll be in your Saturn return, you need to be patient. I really emphasized this at the beginning of the video. I'm emphasizing it now. No rushing, no pushing, no shoving. Take your time. That is such a big lesson for people with prominent Aries. It's a very impulsive, it's a very impatient sign, and it can be very naive. You need to take your time. You need to think through things. Think before you speak, my Aries Mercury's out there. Aries 3rd house babies, think before you speak. Just be really, really mindful. Don't speed in the car. Don't do anything like super impulsive. Just make sure you're being mindful and you're always wearing protective gear, whatever you choose to do. Driving in a car, you wear your seatbelt, right? So that's kind of what I mean is just be really mindful, be patient, no pushing. You're going to get there all the same, okay? Now for my Taurus babies out there, my Taurus influenced people out there. This is obviously a really nice month because Sun is currently in Taurus, so happy birthday to you guys for the first part of the month. Gemini gets it next, but happy birthday to you guys. I love Taurus season. I love everything that it's about. It's so pleasure oriented, it's so feel good, and it's also very pragmatic. It really helps you put your plans into motion. So if you have prominent Taurus, you can definitely be feeling that to an excessive extent. This is a great time to manifest, especially because of course Mercury is going to be entering Taurus on May 10th, I believe. I will correct that if it's wrong. But yeah, May 10th, Mercury will be entering Taurus, so this is a great time to manifest. Taurus people are very gifted at manifesting because they have the best of both worlds. They're creative, but they're also grounded. They know how to pull their desires and their creative ideas into the material reality because they understand that in order to manifest, you have to believe it to be so. It has to be realistic. I know some people say when it comes to manifesting, dream big. You can still dream big, but gosh darn it, you gotta believe that it can happen. So this is why people with prominent Taurus are so good at manifesting. They believe it can happen. So for my Taurus people out there, this is a great time to manifest. Make lists if that helps you, make a vision board, but get clear in your desires. It's ripe for manifestation. This is also, of course, a good time to spoil yourself, nurture yourself, get a massage, treat yourself to a gift. Mercury moving into Taurus can allow for some financial flow, financial movement, especially people that have like a Taurus 2nd house, a Taurus 8th house. Now I will say the Taurus 8th is a little more complicated. This can also note money having to go out, but whatever you put out, it will come back. There's a karmic cycle there. So don't worry, but this is a good time to get some financial organization going as well. Now, Pluto, of course, on May 5th, as I said, it is going to retrograde. It's in Aquarius. So if you have early Taurus degree, so think degree 0 to 5. If you're after that, you're kind of in the safe zone. But 0 to 5 Taurus in placements out there, if it's Taurus sun, moon, rising, I don't care. You're going to feel this retrograde period. This is part of why I really just kind of want you to prioritize yourself this month. Mind your business. Don't get involved in other people's mess. Not your circus, not your monkeys. People might be a drain basically this month. And I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not saying you shouldn't help people or show up for them, but you need to make sure you have a full cup before you're pouring into other people's cup, right? That's like what they say. So I really want you to take care of yourself this month, replenish, regenerate. You deserve it. It's your birthday month. And I just don't want you to feel bogged down with the obligation that you can so often feel to be there for others, especially if the relationship is not reciprocal. You know what I mean? So this Pluto moving back into, entering its retrograde phase, you can feel compelled to, other people just might be very demanding. So you might feel obligated or compelled or indebted to others and to helping them and whatever. But I just want you to take time for you. And I will say, it's not probably the best time to confront things. It's probably for the early Taurus degrees. It's probably not the best time to confront people. I will say if it is extremely important, make sure you're doing it in a diplomatic way, or you're being mature about it. Of course, you want to stand your ground when you need to, but don't get involved in needless confrontation, okay? The energy is kind of hot right now. Gemini, your birthday's coming up, May 20th. Happy upcoming birthday to all my Gemini influenced babies out there. And of course, May 25th, Mercury will be entering Gemini as well. So lots of Gemini energy coming towards the end of the month. This is, of course, an exciting time because it is your birthday coming up, but also you're kind of getting caught up in this T-square that's occurring for the month of May with Jupiter and Gemini, same sign, Jupiter and Gemini squaring Pisces North Node and Virgo South Node. Because if you have a Gemini placement, you're getting caught up in that T-square. It's really important that you pay attention. This can lead to feelings of insecurity and feelings of doubt. However, I want you to know that some of these insecurities, some of these doubts, it's just fear related, okay? It's not always based in anything material. And this is because the mutable signs, they don't really have that much to do with material. They do have a lot to do with the bigger picture. It's all about having faith in what you cannot yet see. So you need to maintain your vision. I don't want you to give up just because maybe you're not seeing material results right away. I want you to keep going. I want you to have faith. I want you to have faith in what you can't yet see, okay? And I promise in due time, once this T-square is over, things should get a little easier for the Gemini babies out there. But in the meantime, month of May, you might be wavering and kind of back and forth between feeling like a burst of confidence and assurance, like, okay, and then maybe, what is going on? I'm doubting my purpose. I'm doubting what I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime. So I need you to kind of just hold on, push through those feelings, maintain your sense of faith. There can be a lot of indecision this month, and there can be a lot of second guessing. It's okay to second guess. It's okay to doubt. That's very normal, but I don't really want you to act on those doubts, at least just yet. I want you to really think it over. I want you to really try to separate your bias before making an important decision. Like if you are currently in school and you're really struggling, well, the school season's kind of over now, but okay, maybe if you graduate, but then you're like, do I want to go back to school next year? Think it over. Take your time. I don't want you to make a rash decision, especially because, at the end of the month, Mercury's going to move into Gemini. It's naturally pretty impulsive, so you need to think through, okay? Cancer. This is going to be a bit of a doozy for you guys because, of course, Saturn moving into Aries, that is going to square. Now, keep in mind, even though Aries does square Cancer, only the really, really early Cancer degree is going to feel these immediate impacts. Like if you have a Cancer rising, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and it's degree 0 to degree 4, I'll give it that frame. You're probably going to feel this. And you're still, even regardless of your Cancer degree, you're still going to feel the weight of Saturn Aries, but it's going to be much more intense for the early degree Cancer placements. And of course, Venus is entering Aries at the beginning of the month, so you're getting that square too. So you're dealing with some squares, okay? So this time period can feel very aggressive for you guys. You might be feeling a little more on edge. You also might be feeling a little more confrontational, a little bit more competitive. So there's more power, there's more energy, there's more oomph. There's also this feeling of like, I'm getting what I want. I'm getting what I deserve. I'm taking matters into my own hands. That physical nature of Aries can kind of align with the emotional nature of Cancer, and it can allow for acting on emotions. So you need to sometimes pause and take a breath, take a break. Again, similar to the Gemini babies out there, think on it. Try not to act impulsively. Try not to rush. I'm telling you guys, this Saturn in Aries can lead to impulsivity. So I want you to take your time. Now, with Venus being in Aries for all of May, the Cancer people out there, what this can do is potentially create some type of conflict, or not even, it doesn't have to be a conflict, but a misunderstanding in your romantic relationship. So this is a really good time to connect with your partner and have a serious talk. Get real about what you're feeling, about what you're thinking. It might even be a disagreement on like a certain goal. The only thing I can compare it to is like if you want to paint the walls pink and they want to paint the walls red. You know what I mean? It might not even be like a huge deal, but there might just be some conflict that you guys have to tend to. There's a give and take. There might be a compromise that has to be met in your romantic relationship. If you're in a bad relationship, this can be the end of it. Cancer, Aries square, again, physical meeting emotional, it can be volatile. So if you're in an unfavorable relationship dynamic, this might give you the out that you need before things get any worse, okay? And I don't mean that to scare you or anything. But again, if you're in a bad relationship, this can create an atmosphere where, okay, it's like the time is now to skedaddle, basically. Now, I will say a good thing about this period for people with prominent Cancer energy, this can allow for the breaking of patterns, old habits, unfavorable karmic patterns and cycles. Again, this Aries energy is kind of pushing you to break down barriers and break down boundaries. So this is a really good time to think very deeply about certain patterns and karmic cycles, especially in your family that you are trying to break, because Cancer, of course, it is very family oriented. That doesn't necessarily mean that you love your family or you like them, but it does mean that your family, your connection to your family is incredibly influential, and it's impacting to your psyche. So this is a good time to reflect on family patterns and break free of them, which is great. So if you've been stagnant or stuck in like addiction, for example, this can allow for a turning point. All right, people with prominent Leo, rising sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, whatever. I'm very excited for you for the month of May. I think it's going to be really good. It can allow for a lot of advancement and development in your life, especially because Saturn in Aries is going to trine, Venus in Aries is going to trine, of course. You know, the Mercury in Taurus will square, but it's Mercury, like whatever, it's not a big deal. You guys will be okay. But I will say with this Mercury Taurus, and of course Sun is going to be in Taurus for a good part of the month, something that you can do is start to kind of think more deeply about certain regrets you might have. This is a really good time to kind of absolve yourself of deep feelings of regret, thinking about your past life choices, and maybe you feel like you made the wrong choice. This is a good time to actually gain perspective and think, well, I made the choice based on all the information I had at the time. I made the choice in good faith. I made the choice based on that level of maturity and understanding and awareness that I had. And forgive yourself. There's like a child component of you that you have to forgive and set free, basically. So that can happen. There can be kind of a somber feeling where you're sort of having to move on from things in the past, especially because, again, Pluto will be retrograding. It is in the sign of Aquarius, which opposes Leo. So if you have an early Leo degree between like 0 to 5, this can bring up some feelings of like having to come to terms with certain components of your life. But the good news is it can allow for more confidence, more reassurance, just this feeling of like, I'm gonna be okay. I did what I had to do. So if anything, there's kind of this bravery and courage and strength that comes from reflecting on certain regrets that you might be having. There's character development taking place. So it's very exciting. And of course, Mars is still going to be in Leo. So this is going to give you a lot of ambition, a lot of motivation to improve. It's going to allow for some fun, some movement, some flirtation, some romance, some good bedroom activity. So it's going to be a really fun month, but it will allow for depth and it will allow for some introspection that sort of frees you. I will say too, when Pluto is retrograde, it can kind of force you, and this is going to be a lengthy retrograde, it's going to be a few months. This can force you to readdress some commitments you made and really ask yourself, okay, do I want to go through with this? So I will say you might go back on a decision, you might change your mind on something, and that you are allowed to do that. You are allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say yes and then say no, okay? So that might happen this month and throughout some of this Pluto retrograde trajectory. You might find that you agreed to something initially, but it's not who you are anymore. You've evolved, you've undergone some character development. So you might change your mind or go back on a commitment or decision. Okay, Virgo influence people out there, Virgo sun, moon, Mercury, rising, Mars, Venus, whatever the case may be. This is going to be an emotionally healing month for you. I know you're probably like, ew, I'm so sorry. I'm Virgo rising. I get it. The reason for this is because you, your sun, or your Mercury, Venus, Mars, ascendant, whatever your personal Virgo energy is, it is, of course, going to be aligned with Virgo South Node. And this is going to be like, we got, another year and a half of this basically. So this is kind of an ongoing thing. But it can amplify this month because we are having Jupiter and Gemini forming a T-square to Pisces North Node and Virgo South Node. And this is really going to impact late degree Virgo people. So really you're looking for like degree 20 to degree 19, or not 19, sorry, like 29. You're looking for like that frame, and you're probably going to feel, I know it's kind of a wider spectrum, but that's because the nodes are currently at like 25 degrees. So you're looking for like at least like 5, 4 off to each side to really feel this. So basically what this is going to do for you is really help you get rid of the gunk and the junk. Virgo South Node is a time to address all the things in your junk drawer, all your clutter, everything you've been hoarding, everything you've been avoiding and neglecting. I know it doesn't sound very fun, but it is so crucial. It is so freeing and it is so healing. This is a great time to kind of confront old coping mechanisms versus how you want to approach your emotions in the future and moving forward. So this can allow you to harness some emotional strength. It can allow you to gain perspective. It can allow you to kind of, I don't know if like freeing yourself of the past, but freeing yourself of anything that is currently kind of chaining you down, which is why getting rid of clutter on a material level and of course an emotional, psychological level is so important. So you might be really inspired during the month of May to get your shit together basically. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You might also be feeling a little bit insecure, struggling a little bit with self-esteem, even like self-image, body image issues. Why? Because Virgo has a lot to do with health. Again, we're in that Virgo South Node. You have to tend to your health. And also because with Venus in Aries, that's very physical. Saturn in Aries is very physical. I will say this is a good month to set health goals. It's a good month to get clear on like what your health goals actually are. And you can have the motivation and ambition to really stick to them. Something else that can happen for people with prominent Virgo too is you might return to a certain component of your education. This could note signing up for school, but specifically people who maybe were on the fence about it before. And this can also note like leaving school if you're on the fence in that way too. Basically your education can come into theme. You can feel inspired to pursue a new education, dive deeper into your, the education you're already embarking upon. Maybe you decide you want to get your PhD, like maybe you just got your master's and you're like, wait a minute, I want to take this all the way. So your education can become a theme. All right, Libra, this is a really big month for you, my prominent Libra babies. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, rising. If you have a prominent Libra placement, you're probably going to relate to this and you're probably going to feel it. This is really important for you because Venus is of course going to be in Aries and Saturn is of course moving into Aries, which opposes Libra. So oppositions are tricky. There's pros and cons. The pros being that, each energy, Libra and Aries, is bringing something to the table that the other person or the other sign needs. The con being if you're not willing to receive and you're not willing to give, then there's issues. So this month, a big theme, especially when Saturn's just in Aries for the next, 3 years, compromise, giving, receiving, huge themes, especially in your relationships. So there is a need here to learn how to receive and of course learn how to give. And I'm not accusing you of not knowing how to share, but I am saying that you need to make sure you're giving to the right people. Now, a good thing about this time period is it can change your professional opportunities. It can also change up your finances, especially because, Venus is going to be in Aries. Venus is material goods. So this could lead to a big break of some sort, especially if you've been working very hard and especially if you've already undergone some rejections and failures, okay? Like if you've already faced some really challenging events, this can allow for your big break. This can allow for like a point of relief. Think of it like all that energy you were putting into trying to accomplish something, trying to achieve your goals. If you were met with, resistance, this month kind of opens things up for you and you've already invested so much energy on a karmic level, so you're bound to get it all back. So this is going to be a good month for you in that regard. You can finally accomplish what you've been needing to accomplish. It can lead to a lot of attention. Oppositions can bring attention, a lot of acclaim, a lot of praise. On a relationship level, again, because Venus is romance, it's going to be in Aries. This is another area of your life where you might have some conflict and things to address. A need for compromise, a need to learn how to give and receive. And this is also true for people with like a Libra 7th, a Libra 5th, Libra Venus, of course, even Libra Mars, Libra Moon. That's another, all the Libra, but Libra romantic placements and stuff can feel it too. So there might be something you and your partner have to compromise on. I will say if you're in a good relationship and you're not yet engaged, this can lead to an engagement period. It could also lead to planning your wedding. Maybe you have a child on the way, some type of advancement and development that requires two people to make it work. You know what I mean? Like someone has to propose, someone has to accept. You have to conceive, it takes two people. So there's, again, this kind of give and receive energy that can have material manifestations in the month of May. So I think this is going to be a pretty good month for you guys. I'm excited. There is going to be a little bit of potential conflict, but you need to just learn how to be receptive and compromising and make sure you're also being giving. All right, my Scorpio influence babies out there, Scorpio Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Rising, you already know the drill. Prominent Scorpio influence in your chart. This is going to be a month that really centers on your financial wellness because we're going to have Sun in Taurus for the first part of it, Mercury in Taurus, and Taurus, of course, opposes Scorpio, and finances are a really big theme here, especially with this opposition. There's kind of this give and take, which that's what an opposition is. It's a give and a take. It's sharing, it's compromising, it's receiving, it's lending. So finances can kind of come and go here. So for some of you, this could note making a significant investment, a significant purchase. For some of you, this can note receiving money like a tax return or an inheritance, something from a will. This is also a really good time for financial organization, okay? So if your finances are all a mess or there's certain financial steps you've been needing to take to get more organized, May is the month to do it. You can be financially rewarded this month. In some cases, this can note a new source of income. And this is true too, even for people who already have a stable job. This could just note a side income or again, like an inheritance, a will, an asset acquisition, something else coming to you materially, basically. Now, another thing to keep in mind for the prominent Scorpio energy, Pluto again is going to begin its retrograde phase on May 5th. And it is an Aquarius. So if you have a Scorpio placement and it's an early degree, like 0 to 5, you're definitely going to feel this Pluto retrograde. This is kind of similar to what I was saying with Leo. If you listen to the Leo part, you might have some commitments that you have to reassess and readdress. So there might be something you committed to that, maybe it's down to the wire, it's crunch time, and it's time to actually do the thing. And this is a time where you kind of have to show up. Now, I will say you can still say no, but there might be consequences. Whereas Leo kind of has permission to say no, you might be a little more tied up. So the pressure might be a little more felt for you this month. You might have certain commitments and obligations you have to tend to. I know that sounds kind of foreign, but you can be greatly rewarded for it. So I do want you to try to stick to your word unless it is a dire situation and you are in danger, or you genuinely can't commit to it for whatever reason, but try to stick to your word this month. There can be consequences if you go back. I will also say too, this retrograde period can definitely throw an unexpected curveball your way. When it comes to certain commitments that you've made, there can be a delay, there can be something that has to be postponed. That's just because Pluto in Aquarius, it brings a lot of surprises, it brings a lot of unexpected things, but that's also part of what can allow for some goodness this month, like receiving some money or, you know, an asset that you weren't expecting to receive. So there can still be goodness, but I do think for you this month is a lot about material planning, a lot about, you know, managing your finances, and of course, tending to your commitments. Sagittarius influenced people. So if you have a personal Sag placement, wherever that might be, this is going to be a fun month for you. There's going to be a lot of trines happening. Of course, Mars is still in Leo, which is going to trine you. Of course, Venus in Aries is going to trine. And of course, Saturn is going to move into Aries, which is also going to trine. And at some point, depending on your degree, Venus, Mars is going to form a grand trine when they inevitably link up in the sky. So that's going to be really cute. That should happen like early in the month, like maybe the first week of May, because I think Leo Mars is still at a pretty early degree right now. So first week of May, if you have like an early Sag degree, like if you have Sag moon at 7 degrees, Venus and Mars are going to form a grand trine to that placement. So this is going to be an exciting period for you. There's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of romantic excitement as well, of course, with that Venus trine and that Mars hot and heavy. I will say you need to moderate yourself. You might be having a little too much fun this month and for May. Don't get me wrong, I love fun. Fun is great, but make sure you're making time for work. You know, play is nice, but you still want to stay grounded and get your responsibilities done. So I think this is going to be a pretty fun month for you. Now, when Pluto does retrograde, Aquarius, if you're like early Sag degree, like degree 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius can bring some unexpected changes to your life, but because it is a sextile aspect, it's probably going to be leaning more on the exciting side of things. So this could lead to some type of unexpected event or surprise in your life that kind of takes you by storm. You didn't see it coming, and there's an exciting element to it. If you are a single Sag, you could meet someone this month. You could get into a new relationship. That's an exciting way that can manifest. There's kind of a social communal element to this sextile aspect because Sagittarius does have a lot to do with community, as does Aquarius. So a lot of these surprises can pertain or can occur in a more social element. Getting a promotion at work, that's another way this can happen. Maybe you become team leader or something, you know what I mean? Like there's a social component to this unexpected surprise. All right, my Capricorn influenced peeps out there. Personal Cap placement, it doesn't just have to be sun, it could be moon, rising, Mercury, Venus, Mars, yada, yada, yada. So I'm not gonna lie, this month is probably gonna be a little bit challenging for you. Venus, of course, is gonna square you, and Saturn moving into Aries, of course, is gonna square you. Now, I will say all that Gemini energy, it is gonna inconjunct you. That Leo Mars is inconjunct, and of course that Aquarius Pluto, it's neighboring you, but it's, you know, it's not conjunct you anymore. So you're in the clear with those, but it's really this Aries energy that is going to probably impact you a little bit. Now, with Venus and Aries, this can kind of throw your money a little bit for a loop. This doesn't necessarily mean anything like bad for your money, but money might slow, money might be inconsistent. I will say there can be an increased drive for more money. So a good thing here is some of these challenges can really push you and give you the push you need. Maybe you might be applying for a new job this month. Maybe you might be seeking a promotion. Maybe you might be diversifying your income, coming up with new ways to make money. So at the very least, this square, this challenge, this tension can push you to making more money. Does that make sense? So it can feel like a lot of pressure, it can feel burdensome, but the end results can be really promising. And this applies to Saturn and Aries because Saturn has a lot to do with work and responsibilities, and it's squaring you. So this can note new responsibilities that you have to tend to, some of which can be very, very overwhelming. You might be feeling a lot of pressure during this time. You might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. However, if you can manage those feelings and kind of see the bigger picture, which I think is a big theme for the month of May because we are having that T-square with Jupiter in the nodes. If you can see the bigger picture, I think it'll bring you a lot of relief. You're focusing on long term, you're focusing on development and growth. Immediate gratification, it's just not in the cards for Capricorn at like any point in time, especially not when there's like, you know, an Aries square going on with Saturn. But this is a time of development for you. Think of it as like you're starting a business. Think of it like that. Think of it as like you're embarking on an adventure. You're embarking on an ambition that's going to take you so far that all you need to do is take it step by step. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't yet worry about the end result. Just take it step by step. That's really what I want you to focus on this month, because you do have some work to do this month. I know it's boring, and it is going to be a little challenging, but it's going to be so rewarding. And I think it's going to take you to places that you never thought it would take you. So I want you to stay focused on your goals. I want you to set new goals if that's what you want to do. This is still a good time to set new goals. That is a good thing, is there's a lot of future and present day movement here. It's not so much about the past, it is more forward thinking. So at least there's that. You're not like chained to the past the way that maybe some other signs this month might feel, like you know, Gemini, Virgo. You at least get some movement and forward motion, but there is some tension that comes with that because there's hard work that has to come with it. All right, Aquarius influenced people out there, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, rising, prominent Aquarius placements. This month, I think is going to be kind of fun, but probably chaotic for you guys. It's going to be very inconsistent because the first part of the month, that Taurus Mercury and Taurus Sun are going to square you, of course. But the second part of the month, the tail end, that Gemini Sun, that Gemini Mercury is going to trine. Of course, Saturn and Aries is going to sextile. Now, there is still that Pluto Aquarius retrograde that's going to conjunct, but it's going to conjunct early degree Aquarius. So let me start there. Sorry, I'm all over the place. If you have an early degree Aquarius placement, degrees 0 to 5, that's what you're really focusing on. If you're later degree, don't worry about it too much. You're still going to feel some weight from Pluto, but it's not going to be as intense as those early degrees. So the early degrees are who I'm talking about here. This Pluto retrograde can cause you to revisit, depending on where Aquarius in your chart. If it's Aquarius Moon, revisiting some family drama. If it's Aquarius Mercury, revisiting an idea, revisiting a study, revisiting an academic endeavor. If it is Aquarius Venus, maybe revisiting a part of your relationship. This could be rekindling an old flame. It could also be reassessing something in your existing relationship, reassessing your values in relationships, your dynamic. So basically this Pluto Aquarius retrograde can force the Aquarius heavy people out there to reassess something, revisit something, return to something, and gain clarity, gain closure, and also like gain some insight, I guess, yeah, for moving forward, so you know, so you can feel better about yourself. So I will say too, this retrograde period could also potentially bring some curveballs, unexpected, you know, like, whoops, how did that happen? I wasn't anticipating that. So you might have to improvise, you might have to innovate a little bit during this Pluto retrograde, but that's not something that you know, you're not new to this, like you already know. So, you know, it can be wonky energy, but it can still work out for you, basically. Now, the end of the month should be a little more fun when Sun and Mercury, of course, move into Gemini. So I'm excited for you guys in that regard. It can allow for more socialization, more play, more, you know, spending time with friends. That's another thing too, like for the early Aquarius babies, like if you have Mercury in Aquarius, revisiting old friends. You know what I mean? Like there is good to come with this Pluto retrograde. And you know, when Sun and Mercury, of course, move into Gemini, like I just said, more fun, more enlightenment, more creativity, and also more motion. So getting things done. Any stagnancy might kind of break, you know, you might break free from stagnancy. So I'm very excited for you guys in that regard. This could note ending patterns, you know, breaking down certain walls, having more movement. And Saturn in Aries can allow for innovation. It can allow for progress in your career, especially progress in your personal goals and endeavors. So whether that is like a professional thing or maybe just a personal project, a creative project, a goal that you have regarding, you know, your family life, like buying a house or something or having a child, Saturn and Aries can allow for movement and motion in that regard too. So I think Saturn and Aries will be rewarding for the Aquarius people out there, and it can help you get closer to your goals and you know, see actual material results of your desires. All right, Pisces, this is such a big month for you guys. Pisces Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Ascendant. You're looking for that personal Pisces energy. This is a huge month for you guys. Saturn is finally leaving your sign. Now keep in mind, Saturn will retrograde back into Pisces towards the end of the year, but still, this is like hallelujah. Saturn in Pisces is so difficult. So you are going to feel a wave of relief when Saturn moves into Aries. It's just going to feel so good. It's not going to feel as heavy. You're not going to feel as trapped. You're not going to feel... But the problem with Saturn in Aries is it's like, no matter how much work you put in, you can still feel like you're going nowhere. There's a fog, there's a cloudiness. It's very hard to recognize your progress. And there's also a lot of self-esteem issues. And I will say this month can still be kind of a little tricky for you guys because you are going to get caught up in that T-square. So like I said, Jupiter Gemini is going to form a T-square with Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node. Now, if you have prominent Pisces energy, if it's a later degree, you're more likely to feel it. If it's like 0 degrees Pisces, you're okay. But the later degree Pisces, like between 20 to 29, like you're going to feel that T-square. You're going to feel caught up in it. So you might be feeling more insecure. You might be feeling also a little bit more sad. There's kind of a melancholy energy here. There's also kind of this feeling of grief and mourning. So it might be that you're kind of ruminating on the past, or you're looking to the past and you're feeling a little bit, maybe you're glorifying it or you're romanticizing it, or maybe you're having a really hard time accepting your present day reality and like what your life really looks like right now and what it's on trajectory to look like. So this is kind of a complex month for you. On one hand, yes, there's that relief of Saturn finally leaving your sign at the end of the month, but the road to getting to that end of month period can be a little difficult. And it can also cause you to kind of revisit certain temptations and addictions. So there is sort of like a relapse energy here. And I mean relapse, not necessarily in like that addiction term. It's not necessarily like a substance use thing, but relapse when it comes to like maybe any type of unfavorable coping mechanism or even certain thoughts and self-esteem issues you might be holding on to. So that can happen here. You really need faith. You really need to, again, a big theme, see the bigger picture. Give yourself some credit, please. Give yourself some credit. Try to kind of get out of that victim mentality and get ready for that Saturn in Aries. It's going to be a load off your back and it's going to allow for more movement for you. Not to mention too, of course, you are going to have that Gemini Sun, Gemini Mercury square at the end of the month too. So this month, it's really good for you because it does represent an ending. It represents the curtain call basically of the Saturn and Pisces cycle. But the month is going to come with some emotional baggage and some deep-seated feelings that I think are going to kind of pour out and lead to this feeling of overwhelm. It kind of reminds me of like New Year's Eve. Like there's such an excitement for what's to come, but you're looking back on the year and it causes a lot of feelings to come up. Some people feel a lot of regret for how they spent the year. Some people feel very proud for how they spent the year. They're proud of themselves, but even feeling proud of yourself can come with a lot of emotions. There's crying tears of joy, crying tears of sadness, crying tears of grief and mourning, regret. Like there's a whole spectrum of emotions to be felt this month and you can feel every single one. So be mindful, be patient with yourself. You might be, up and down, but ultimately it's going to be really good for you, like towards the end of the month. And I'm very excited for you moving forward. Okay, there's my horoscopes. Let me know in the comments if that made sense, if you resonated, if you're excited for May. I hope you are. I do think despite some of those more complicated transit events, I think it is going to be good. I think we're moving in the right direction. And Saturn in Aries is just going to be so big and so exciting. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much if you made it all the way through. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content, it means the world to me. And of course, I have my website in the description for those of you who would like to book a reading with me. I offer a lot of different types. And of course, my email list, sign up for that too.